What are the different types of spinal curvatures? When we look at the normal alignment of the spine, we know the spine should be completely straight from the front. From the skull to the pelvis should be one completely straight line. And we look at the side view of the spine, we know there should be curves from your neck to your mid-back to your low back. And the spine has these natural curvatures in each of these main sections, so the spine can be naturally and healthy, more strong, more flexible, and better to absorb and distribute mechanical stresses occurring during activity and gravity. And if we know if the spine has its healthy curvatures, the spine and the vertebrae are aligned as they should be, and therefore the spine is functioning and working at its highest level. The size of a person's curvature can vary over time, so we know that the person's spinal curvatures could fall within a normal healthy range or outside of a normal healthy range based upon the size of the curvature. And therefore, if a person's spinal curvatures are over or under these normal ranges, it affects the spinal biomechanics, and it can lead to considerable problems that can affect the nerves, the tissues, the muscles, and the discs. Now, when we look at the shape of the curvatures from the side of the spine, we refer to two different shapes, something called a lordosis and a kyphosis. A lordosis is when the spine bends towards the front of the body, and a kyphosis is when the spine bends towards the back of the body. And we know a lordotic curvature is when the body looks more like a traditional C shape, and a kyphotic curvature is when the patient looks more like a reverse C shape. Each section of the spine is characteristic by its own curve type, and therefore we want that area to have that shape within a certain range. The cervical spine refers to the neck, and it typically features a lordotic curvature, which again bends to the front of the body, where the thoracic spine is in the middle of the back, and it refers to a kyphotic curvature, which again bends to the back of the body. And a lordotic curvature also exists in the lumbar curvature, which refers to the low back, and it bends to the front of the body. Now, the healthy ranges for these curvatures are between 20 and 40 degrees. Now, the lumbar lordosis can be a little bit larger, and it can range up to about 50 to 60 degrees. But typically we're looking around 40 degrees to be the ideal number. So a cervical lordosis of 40 degrees, a thoracic kyphosis of 40 degrees, and a lumbar lordosis of 40 degrees. Now, what happens to these numbers when they fall out of their normal range? They can develop into something called either hyper or hypolordosis or kyphosis. So if a person has a decreased cervical lordosis, it means it's less than 20 degrees. It means the person has a hypolordosis, it's less than 20 degrees. And this can lead to problems. If a person has a curve in their neck that bends too much and it's over 40 degrees, like it's 50 or 60 degrees, this means they have a hyperlordosis. The thoracic spine is the same way. That if they have less than 40 degrees, like 15, they can have a hypokyphosis. If they have over 50 or 60 degrees, they can have hyperkyphosis. When the spine's out of its alignment, it can disrupt the spinal's ability to support the weight of the body. It can affect communication between the brain and the body because the spinal nerves and spinal cord go through the spine and they exit, and it can start to affect the environment of the spinal cord and nerves in a negative way, disrupting the normal body communication. And we also know it starts to affect the way people look. As they develop a hyperkyphosis or too much curvature in the mid-back, they can get rounded back and they can get hunched shoulders. If they get a forward neck, or a straight neck, they can get a loss of curvature in the neck. Their head can start to stick forward. They can have forward head posture or text neck, which is referred to very often these days. If somebody has too much curvature in the lumbar spine, they can have a hyperlordosis of the lumbar spine too much, and they have sway back or too much curvature. Now, unfortunately, these curvatures can get so far out of alignment that they can start to develop in the opposite way, meaning your neck curve can become so decreased that instead of having a lordosis, you can actually have a kyphosis. So having a kyphosis in your neck means that your curve is completely bent in the opposite direction and is now bending the other way. And unfortunately, this is becoming more and more common in patients' cervical spine as a result of technology, sitting behind laptops and computers and cell phones and iPads. And we're seeing kyphosises to occur in younger and younger ages, which is very, very disturbing. Now, not only can people develop abnormal curvatures from the side, they can develop abnormal curvatures from the front. Like I mentioned, the curve should be completely straight from the front, but we know patients can develop a curvature from the front view, and this is called scoliosis. Now, in order for there to be scoliosis, the curvature has to be at least 10 degrees or greater, and typically the curve will also not only have a curvature associated with it, but it'll also rotate into the concavity of the scoliosis. And we know there's two main types of scoliosis cases: curves that bend to the right or curves that bend to the left. A right scoliosis is called a dextroscoliosis, and a one that bends to the left is called a levoscoliosis. And in the lumbar spine, the most common type is a levo or a left scoliosis. And in the thoracic spine, the most common type is a right or a dextroscoliosis. If somebody bends in the opposite direction from those what I just mentioned, those are called atypical scoliosis cases. And atypical scoliosis cases can be associated with other conditions than just scoliosis itself. So meaning if somebody has a left bending scoliosis in the thoracic spine, a level scoliosis that's bending kind of towards the heart, they can say that that's an atypical curvature. And sometimes they can look for other types of problems like a neuromuscular condition or other types of anomalies that are associated with scoliosis. Just like lordosis and kyphosis, the degree or how far out of alignment the scoliosis is ranges in how severe the problem is. So therefore, we normally label scoliosis as a mild curvature, as a moderate curvature, severe, or very severe. And these are angles that are taken off x-rays, and they're normally determined by somebody's Cobb angle. In order to be severe, the curve needs to be over 40 degrees. Between 25 and 40 is considered moderate. Anything less than 25 is considered mild for scoliosis cases. So therefore, the best way to evaluate your spine is to, first of all, to have your spine evaluated by a doctor who focuses on spinal alignment. And then if there's any findings that would dictate x-rays, taking some x-rays to determine how these curvatures look like. How does your spine look like from the front, and how does it look like from the side? The best way to preserve a healthy spinal curvatures is to practice spinal-friendly lifestyle, and that involves staying active, strong, maintaining a healthy weight, and practicing good posture. For those diagnosed with any type of spinal condition like a hyperkyphosis, a hyperlordosis, any type of scoliosis, the best way is to look at the spine and address the loss of healthy curvatures or abnormal curvatures and to try to restore them as healthy as possible as soon as you're diagnosed with that condition. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this information helpful. If you have any questions about this topic or other scoliosis questions, type in the comments below and let us know. And finally, subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified of when we publish new videos just like this.